In this video I'm going to kind of give a brief run through of our XML importer, post-trans XML API importer for Sage 200. If you're a user, you may have got an email saying something's failed and you're like, oh, what the bloody hell is all this about? So I'm going to kind of go through a little bit of what you would do if it fails. So on the screen, this will be probably running on a server somewhere. Now, this could be monitoring a individual folder for files submitted by an external system. It could be dragging them from a SFTP website or an IMAPI email address. It depends on the settings. But if auto import's ticked there, which would be according to the settings, it will just sit there and poll and import, or you can press the import button. So as the system starts up, it tends to log, and as you can see, we can go down and we can click on these and see more detail down here. We can press copy, and that will copy them to the clipboard. This one here, when the system starts up, is quite fundamental because this post-trans gives each Sage 200 company a code, and the code is either set in the settings for the which company you're going to import into, or it's actually set on each individual file. If you watch one of the videos on transaction importing, you'll see me discuss that, but that's something of note. There's also any errors listed on here, or any transactions that have come in kind of are listed in this very small kind of status log. So if you had a problem transaction, you probably have received an email to say something didn't come in because it failed validation. In which case you can go in here and you can view a whole variety of things. You've got an activity and an error log, so you can see any activities, which is basically this, error log, which is list of errors basically, system settings and mapping settings, which probably shouldn't go into unless directed, but you can click on here, import directory, and that shows you the directory that the system is monitoring. Now there's two subdirectories in here. One's called imported, which should contain everything imported, but there is a switch just to delete everything imported. But if you've received an email, your failed transactions will all be listed in the failed XML folder. And if you've got something like Notepad, you can go in and just say edit. Now if you've got a line on a transaction that's failed because maybe the stock code doesn't exist, you could edit it, correct it, or you could even delete the line and basically save the file and then drag it back to the in directory, its parent directory, and see if the system will re-import it, and then add the line manually. At the top is listed all the error and information, so you can see, you would have got that in the email as well, but there we go. Now if anything is imported and passes, and like I say is not told to delete them, then at the top is appended in a comment, very similar to the error, the actual reference of the transaction. The whole idea is each file represents a transaction, so if it does fail validation, it can be resubmitted easy. So what I'm going to do now is go through a whole variety of other little bit of interesting things. So here we have get tag list. Now what this will do is, if I include tags, it will generate a text file which represents every kind of entity that post-trans XML API can talk to. So you could actually, if you were creating, I don't know, trying to sort of prototype something, you could copy that out and fill some information in and try it all out. But these are all the fields. Say it starts off with customer, transaction header fields, each individual line is broken down, and the whole idea of the design is that it's kind of generic. Sorry, there's nominal codes and stock adjustments at present. So a sales order basically shares the same fields as a sales invoice, whether it be to the invoice module or straight to the financials. And all this is listed on our website. So if you go to the website, which I guess really we need to, I'm not sure it's actually on this. This is prototype software. I'll put a link in there so it can go to the website. And if we go to the website, we can see here we've got a menu option, and there's our different entities we can import. And the point is, they all contain these videos and some examples and some screenshots of what each transaction is created. But at the bottom here is a nice table which contains all those tags, very similar to what I just created there, and it just lists and describes in detail what each field is all about. And as I say, there was a settings file here, so we've got the settings here. We can set here the company that it's imported to, the folder that it wants to monitor, and whether it should delete them, when it should go to sleep. So if you're doing backups in the night, we can tell it to go to sleep, not do anything. We can also tell it to import from an IMAPI email address. So effectively, it's a dedicated email address. It checks the mail in there. And I think the subject of each email's got to be formatted as a certain type, so you could kind of use that as a password. Anything else, it deletes. If it doesn't contain valid XML, it just deletes it, gets rid of it. Or it can log on and periodically check an SFTP website. So it can do that every 20 minutes or something. So your external system can submit transactions. We have a mappings settings, and there's a whole series of examples here, but these can also be overwritten actually in the XML down here, you see. So this reset here resets any of the mappings it's read in, so they can be overwritten on a transaction basis. Overridden, if I didn't say overridden. Obviously you've got an activity log and an error log, so if I look at the activity log, there should be a detailed log of everything that's gone into the system through it. And yeah, and then we can test sending the error email it will send out, and I think the error email is listed in the settings. We can test getting IMAPI mail from the external account, and the SFTP download. Its requirements, well, it's just a .NET program, but it does require Sage 200 client to be installed on the same machine. Anyway, I think that about concludes a small overview of how and what in the hell on earth is this piece of software. Cheers, bye.